وكان ذلك بمثابة ثورة صغيرة في سوريا.
Lorsque vous arrivez au pouvoir le 17 juillet 2000, quelles sont vos réelles ambitions à ce moment-là pour le pays?
The first priority for me was developing my country in the economy field and to open up the economy, to have more jobs, better standards, and so on. The second priority, of course, was to open it politically.
يريد الغرب تصديق انفتاحه الجديد، ومن أوائل الرؤساء الذين رحبوا به الرئيس الفرنسي جاك شيراك، حيث استقبل نظيره السوري في قصر الأليزيه في باريس.
He's a child of Hafez al-Assad. He's a child of the Arab-Israeli conflict. He's a child of the superpower Cold War. Those are the influences that affect his life more so than a mere 18 months in London. He learned to like Western music. In fact, one of the things I mentioned to him the first time I met him, I told him, you know, one of the worst things that you said, Mr. President, was that you said you liked Phil Collins' music. And because that raised expectations in the West that he was this modernizing, westernizing leader who would, you know, rip Syria away from its Cold War and anti-Israeli past and integrate it into the West.
ثمة اختلاف كبير طبعا بين صورة الأب اللواء الصارم وحليف الاتحاد السوفيتي منذ زمن طويل والابن الطبيب والرئيس من دون سابق تخطيط، لكن على الأقل هناك قاسم واحد مشترك بينهما، صراحة معينة.
Most of the time, unless there's something very, very formal, I don't have to drive. There's formal convoy going to the parliament, for example, something like this. But wherever I go to my work, to the palace, I only drive myself.
But it's very unsecure.
No. Syria is a very secure country. It's not bulletproof. You can open the window, check it.
Open your window?
Yeah.
So you don't take risks doing this?
I don't take what?
Risk?
No, there's no risk actually. You cannot be secure through bodyguards. You can secure through having secure society.
It's not how he drives. It's the fact that he can listen to all of us in the car for 3 hours.
Listen to the music.
So there are 3 kids, there's me and there's music, and he can put up with that for 3 hours and he's still smiling when we get there. So that's the most incredible.
I still remember the first 3 years of the presidency of my father. When I was a child, we used to live in the same building. We have neighbors door to door. We used to live in a small flat. This is very important about the legitimacy of any president, is to be popular. So being popular doesn't mean only to go to meet with the people and shake hands and to sit with them on the chair. It means, first of all, how close you live to their life. You have to live as normal life as you can. You should have neighbors. When they have problems, they should be you should be accessible to them. They could come to you. You should share with them their social life. You should be able to go and offer your condolences, and so on.
But Bashar lives a fairly modest lifestyle, and therefore that sets a tone for the regime as a whole. Having said that, however, there are very rich patriarchal families in Syria that are tied to the regime, and Bashar realizes he can't really do anything about that for the time being, because especially in a threatening environment, he has to maintain these loyalties, he has to maintain these links. And until the environment becomes less threatening, and particularly until there's a peace agreement with Israel, and where there's investment comes in from the outside, hopefully much more so than it has in the past, then perhaps he can really take and enact and implement measures against the pervasive corruption in Syria.
وهنا تكمن المشكلة، فالفكر القديم بدأ يشيخ أكثر فأكثر. وفي عام 2000 أخافتهم المبادرات السياسية الجديدة، حيث تشكل حرية الصحافة وحرية التعبير عن الرأي وتكوين الجمعيات تهديدا حقيقيا لأفكارهم. وكل ما هم مستعدون لقبوله الآن هو التحرير الجزئي للاقتصاد.
C'est ouvert maintenant, mais on a des banques étrangères, on a des compagnies étrangères qui travaillent. C'est plus libre, surtout l'économie, c'est plus libre qu'avant. Ça a fait beaucoup de progrès depuis l'an 2000 jusqu'à maintenant. Beaucoup de progrès. Et même il y a quelques jours, on a eu la bourse. Ça, c'est un signal de bonne santé de l'économie quand il y a une bourse, quand il y a des banques étrangères, tout.
لكن بعيدا عن المجال الاقتصادي يزداد الضغط بسرعة، حيث يرى العديدون أن المبادرات السياسية التي اتخذها بشار الأسد عام 2000 تشكل تهديدا حقيقيا على النظام، وخاصة على أصحاب المناصب الرئيسية للسلطة.
In fact, he told me one time that's one of the hardest parts about being president of Syria is that he can't just, cure something right away. It takes a long time. It has to be done incrementally. Whereas an ophthalmologist, he knew what to do immediately. He analyzed the problem and diagnosed it and would administer the cure. It's not so easily done at a country level, but that's part of his training.
حدثت تطورات سريعة في دمشق. يبدو أن الرئيس الشاب حقق إنجازات كبيرة وبوقت قصير جدا، حتى أن أصواتا تعالت تدعو إلى إجراء إصلاحات في شتى مناحي الحياة، وكان هذا كثيرا على مجموعة ظلت تعمل في إطار محدود طيلة 30 عاما. فبدأوا العمل لتعديل الموازين لصالح أفكارهم ومصالحهم، وكثير من المعطيات على أرض الواقع تغيرت، وتم إغلاق العديد من الصحف الجديدة، ومنعت الاجتماعات العامة بشدة مرة أخرى، وبهذا كانت نهاية التحرر السياسي.
So we kept moving forward, definitely maybe much slower than the very beginning, but doesn't mean we are moving backward. We haven't achieved a lot. We still have a long way to go. We are at the very beginning, but we are moving, which is not true that we didn't go backward and that we're not in the same place. Syria today is not Syria 6 or 7 years ago.
So he was constrained in the amount of reform he could implement. And time will tell. If the situation in the Middle East stabilizes, maybe then he will be able to implement the type of reform he would like to implement. And then we'll get a better measure of whether or not he really is the reformist leader that everyone hoped he would be when he came to power.
في الأيام الأولى من رئاسة بشار لم تجري الأمور لصالحه، فقد شددت الولايات المتحدة موقفها السياسي بعد أحداث 11 سبتمبر، وشنت حربا تحت شعار مكافحة الإرهاب على أفغانستان، وحربا ثانية على العراق. وفي هذا الجو من الصراع أصبح موقف الرئيس السوري ضعيفا لدى معظم الدول الغربية.
That's what I told the Americans, or many American delegations at that time. Don't go for war. You cannot fight terrorism with war. War will help terrorists. War is like if you have cancer. Instead of extracting this tumor, the cancer, you only cut it. When you cut it, it grows faster.